I'm still basking in the glow of Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. I'm sure some of you are as well. Doesn't it feel good to win? Doesn't it feel good to win? I told Marina it's like a weight's been lifted off of me. It's like I can breathe for the first time in 4 years. It's just, it's a wonderful day. So the sun is shining brighter, although it's overcast right now. But, man, it feels good to win, and it feels good to take the Senate and the House. I mean, it's full steam ahead now. We just got to make the right decisions and do the right things, and hopefully we will. I'm hearing some rumblings about people that may be in the Trump administration, such as Thomas Massey. I hope that's true. And I'm going to talk more about that in the next few days, hopefully. But right now, I want to talk about how both major political parties have been absolutely transformed in the last few years, which is so obvious and so evident. Where we stand today right now, the GOP is on top. It has been transformed, however, and I'll get to that in a minute. The Democratic Party, as far as I'm concerned, is in utter shambles, absolute shambles. This was a devastating defeat across the board. Now, they retained some seats in the House, some seats in the Senate, but overall, this was a rout. This was a landslide. This was a crushing defeat for the Democratic Party, and they've got to be doing some real introspection, if you ask me at this time. And again, I hope, if I can remember, I'll get back to that in just a moment. But, well, let me address that right now, because I may forget it, and I don't want to, because one thing I want to talk about is who is on the bench for the Democratic Party. When you look ahead to 2028, who have they got, folks? It seems to me their bench is empty. The only names I'm hearing are Jennifer Granholm of Michigan, Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, Gavin Newsom perhaps of California, maybe a couple of others, but none of those names to me seems all that impressive. I mean, things could change in time, I suppose, but I just think they're in shambles. I don't think they have any rallying point whatsoever. Obviously, Kamala Harris she's gone. I mean, she gave her concession speech, finally. I called her a coward because she left her supporters out in the middle of the night, in the middle of the morning, just wanting to see her or hear from her, and she never showed. She never called Trump Tuesday night, Wednesday morning to concede. Never got that. She did call him finally yesterday, Wednesday, and then she had her appearance where she made her concession speech, and she was late for that, so they had to wait even longer to hear her concession speech, which was just nothing to write home about. It wasn't special at all. I don't know where they go from here. The old guard is gone. The Obama effect, as far as I'm concerned, is gone. Biden is gone. Harris is gone. Obama is gone. The Clintons are gone. They're all gone. You've heard the phrase, turn the page. They've got to turn the page, and they've got to find somebody on their bench that's strong enough to run for 2028. But who's it going to be? It's got to be somebody with some fresh ideas, because these people have no ideas. This is why they keep losing. They have no substantive ideas, which is why they resort to these gutter tactics, such as calling good people Nazis and fascists and all this nonsense. Why do you think they lost? They have nothing to offer, folks, and this is why they lose. They lost. Hispanics voted for Donald Trump. The last I heard was 40% they voted for Donald Trump. African American men voted for Donald Trump at 20%. This is unprecedented. It's usually around 10 or less. They have lost. They lost huge. They are losing their core constituencies. because they are, as far as ideas go, the Democratic Party is bankrupt. Now, what has happened to the major political parties in the last few years and perhaps a couple of decades? If you go back in time, the Republican Party was largely, I said this in a recent video, they were largely the party of the rich elites based out of New England, the Rockefeller wing, the Romney types, the McCain types, the Ford and Nixon types. They were liberal. They were liberal politically speaking. They were certainly liberal on social issues, usually a little more conservative on fiscal matters, but not always. They were pro-abortion, generally speaking. Reagan changed that when he came along. Reagan appealed to the yellow dog Democrats, as I said in that video. He championed himself as a genuine conservative, a social conservative, a fiscal conservative. The liberal wing of the Republican Party did not like Ronald Reagan. Reagan was a man of the people. He appealed to the people, and that's one reason, the main reason I contend, that he beat Jimmy Carter so soundly. But what happened after Reagan? Reagan's big mistake, in my view, was selecting George W. Bush as his running mate. Bush was one of these New England blue blood liberal Republicans. He was a throwback to the Rockefeller, Ford, Nixon wing of the Republican Party. Bush was no conservative, not like Reagan at all. And Bush began to govern, but Bush brought another component into the body politic, which was neoconservatism. It was Papa Bush who started fomenting this idea that we've got to go attack other countries before they have the chance to attack us. It was Bush that got us into war with Iraq. Bush won, Papa Bush. And that whole neocon ideology was adopted in large part by the Republican Party, or at least the powers that be in the Republican Party, and it sucked so many people in, including like the late Rush Limbaugh. By the way, I would love to hear what Rush had to say. I wish he were still with us. I'd love to hear what he had to say about the election, because he was big on Trump. Papa Bush successfully tied the concept of patriotism with neoconservatism. So you were somewhat demonized if you didn't agree with the fact that we needed to go to war with these assorted countries. And neoconservatism just cast a pale over the entire party, which was in power, of course, for 8 years before Clinton came into power. But Clinton still made war against other countries himself, just like Bush had done. It was Clinton who had his military drop bombs on Serbian Christians on Easter Sunday, writing on their bombs, "Happy Easter." That was Clinton. It was Hillary Clinton who presided over the death of Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. And now that country has totally become just desolate, and slavery has returned to Libya, among other things. And then, of course, we got George W. Bush, and we all know the story with Bush, a warlike president who, along with Dick Cheney, basically said, we've got to go fight them over there before they come over here. Neoconservatism. There's nothing conservative about it. And all that happened with Bush Cheney is Iraq was a total debacle. We were told Iraq had WMD. They did not have WMD, and we had zero reason to go into Iraq in the first place. None. They had nothing to do with 9/11, and everybody knows it now. We were lied to, and hundreds of thousands of innocent people died because of our actions in Iraq, and the blood of their souls and bodies is on Dick Cheney, who is a war criminal as far as I'm concerned. Now, it was Trump who came in and started to change course. Trump started to pursue a policy of peace instead of war. How many of you are ready for a little bit of peace now? Thank God for Donald Trump, if only for that. So Trump has fundamentally transformed the GOP from the neoconservative party. Now, Trump is no conservative. Trump is probably moderate left, maybe moderate right. He is a populist candidate. Everybody knows that. But Trump loves his country. Of this, I am certain. But things have changed fundamentally. The Republican Party won Tuesday night because they have transformed themselves into the party of the people. It's as simple as that. They transformed themselves successfully into the party of the working man. This has been Trump's message all along. He is a man of the people. He is a man with a message for the people. He appealed to working Americans, Americans with union jobs, Americans who have an entrepreneurial spirit and maybe want to start their own business, Americans who just go out and work labor, welders, pipe fitters, dock workers, warehouse workers, people who work in gas stations. These are the people Trump was appealing to, and they voted for him in huge numbers. That's why he won. The Dick Cheneys of the world didn't vote for him, and they said they wouldn't. They voted for Kamala Harris. George Bush was no fan of Donald Trump. Mitt Romney was no fan of Donald Trump. Mitch McConnell was no fan of Donald Trump. These liberal Republicans, they would have been fine with Kamala Harris, and some of them endorsed her. Those relics are gone. Thank God. I'm only hoping the neoconservative movement is dead. If it ain't dead, it's on life support with Trump in the White House. I heard him say the other night, he doesn't want wars, he wants peace. That's commendable, is it not? Is it not commendable that the State Department would sit down with potential adversaries and try and work through diplomacy, thereby staving off war, keeping our troops out of war? Keeping us out of war, is that not a good thing? Would it not be better that we would sit at a table with Putin and have diplomatic relations and discuss our differences rather than just always be on a war footing? We have been Joe Biden has brought us to the cusp of World War III, folks. We are in treacherous territory. Trump is changing all that, and that alone is worth the price of admission. That Trump would back us off from conflict with Russia or China, that alone makes voting for him worth it. His election may well have saved civilization for all we know. I am so grateful that he won. As I have stated, I've got my own myriad of issues with Donald Trump, but they all pale in comparison just on that issue alone. Thank heavens neoconservatism is either dead or it's on life support, because the Republican Party has been fundamentally transformed by Donald Trump. The Romneys are gone. The McConnells are gone. They're still there, but they're shells of themselves. The Cheneys are gone, and good riddance. The Bushes are gone. Those days are over, thank God. And the Republican Party has transformed itself into a party, the party of the people. It's unbelievable when you stop and think about it. It used to be back in the day in the 60s and 70s, the Democrats were always the party of the people. The Democrats were always the party of the little man, the working man, the man who got up and went out and worked hard and paid his taxes. That way, he would always vote Democrat in the past, no more. That man now is voting for Donald Trump. That man now is high-stepping it to the polls because the Republican Party is now a party of the people. It has been wrested, the power has been wrested from the New England center, where the liberal wing of the Republican Party has historically been, and it's been delivered back into the hands of the people. Trump is a man of the people. Yeah, he's a billionaire, but he relates to the working man. He understands the plight of the working man, the little man. I'm one of them men. I understand. I proudly voted for Donald Trump. But I can't stress enough, I can't emphasize enough that the Democratic Party is utterly in shambles. They have no message. They have no ideas. They have nothing. Look at the GOP's bench. What's going to happen in 2028? I don't know. But we've got some ideas people that could be running for president. Vivek Ramaswamy is an ideas man. Tulsi Gabbard is an ideas woman. J.D. Vance is, in all likelihood, the heir apparent, and that's fine too. He is bright and articulate and intelligent. It's wonderful. Our bench is deep. The future is bright. Now, I want to say another word about the future with regard to the Republican Party. Overall, Tuesday night was a landslide. It was a rout. Now, some of the races on a state-by-state basis, they weren't that lopsided, but overall, Trump won I think when it's all said and done, he got over 300 electoral votes. He won the popular vote. He is going into office with a mandate, which means he should be able to get any legislation passed that he wants to pass. This is a good thing. So he goes in with a mandate, but there may be some people who are feeling just a tad skittish about 2028 with regard to the next election. And if you're hopeful that the next man or woman up on the Republican bench may have a fight on their hands, I want to placate you. I want to set you at ease and say, don't worry. All is well. I think the future is extremely bright. And I want to give you an example of this. You may well remember in the not too distant past, the state of Florida was always a battleground state. Do you remember Bush versus Gore? What was that, year 2000? I mean, the thing came, it was just a few hundred votes that separated Bush from Gore. Bush versus Kerry, it was very close in Florida. Florida was a battleground state. It was always who was going to win the state, the Democrat or the Republican. In his first election to the governorship, Ron DeSantis was running against a man by the name of, I just had his name. I want to say Willis. I can't remember the guy's name. He was a black man from Tallahassee. Gilliam was his name, I believe. And that was a razor-thin margin. DeSantis pulled it out. He won that race. He barely won that race, but he won. And in his re-election campaign, DeSantis won in a landslide. And Florida has become a solid red state. Trump won handily in Florida. Now, what can we learn from that? We can learn from that this. The reason Florida has become such a solid red state is because DeSantis has been a good governor. Say what you will about him, but DeSantis has Florida rocking and rolling. He has served very well. He has been a very able governor for the state of Florida. And he has won people over to basically his political philosophy to some degree in the state of Florida, else he wouldn't have won re-election, but he won it handily. Florida now is safe red territory. Trump won it with ease. I believe it was the first state called Tuesday night for Trump, if I'm not mistaken. I know it was one of the first. It was Florida, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, some of these states. Florida is solid red. Now, if Trump does what needs to be done in America, if he implements his programs and his policies in America and we prosper because of them, and we should because we did in the first Trump administration, then he is going to have a wonderful record of success, and America is going to be put back on the right track. We will not, in all likelihood, be on a war footing anymore. Our economy should be better. People's 401ks should be better. The stock market should be good. We should be good. We should be firing on all cylinders. And that, in my opinion, sets us up very well for 2028. For the next 4 years, the Democrats are going to be scrambling to find somebody with some decent ideas. But how are their ideas going to trump Trump's ideas, which his successor will undoubtedly latch on to? Trump's successor, let's say it's J.D. Vance, he is going to be able to run on the Trump-Vance record. So I believe that the GOP, because they have divorced themselves from the neoconservative ideology, because they have put to bed the Cheneys and the Romneys and the Bushes, I believe the future is bright for the GOP, thus is bright for the United States. I'm feeling pretty good right now. I got a little pep in my step. I'm feeling pretty good about my country, I got to tell you. I hope you're feeling pretty good too. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about what's happening and how you feel about the future. And what do you think about my ideas? You think I'm onto something? Maybe I am. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you soon.